Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to our first edition of our I've Decided podcast in 2023. I'm Kim Martin, founder of I've Decided. And let me say to you, Happy New Year. I'm so excited that you are tuning in. We are here today to ask you one question, and that is, are your New Year goals sustainable? Are your New Year goals sustainable? That is our weekly winning word this week, and I am here to talk to my good friend, Laurie Kaplan. Hi, Laurie.
Hey, Kim.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am wonderful. So I'm here to talk to Laurie about our weekly winning word, sustainable, and how can we make our goals more sustainable so that we don't just throw our New Year resolutions out the window, because we don't want to do that. But we do want to get off that hamster wheel of try, fail, because that is discouraging. And it makes us not want to set our New Year resolutions. So Laurie, you own Gnarly Oak Farm, which we'll talk a little bit about, but also you're a registered dietitian, and the company that you do that through is Genetically Nourished, and you're going to explain all that to us. But obviously you're very like-minded, and you're teaching and coaching and helping your clients understand the idea of creating sustainable habits that are going to help them lead a healthier life. So obviously you're a good candidate to be on this podcast with me today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. And yeah, it's kind of a perfect match for January, because we do. It's the time we set resolutions. And I think you were quoting some numbers. Most of us quit by the middle of February.
Or the end of January.
The gyms are full right now, and they are empty by the middle of February.
I know.
People give up on that.
They give up, and it's because they feel like they're not succeeding. And so they just go, forget it. I can't do it. Here I am again, set another goal and didn't achieve it. And I think it's because we go all in so fast and furious, right? So if I need to lose weight, I go all in and change everything all at one time, instead of maybe working with a dietitian that can help me make some small changes. And the statistics that you're talking about, Laurie, is the Nielsen rating says that about 67% of the population set New Year resolutions. So that's kind of a positive number. That's good. The majority of us, right? The majority of us still get excited about the new year. And hopefully you're listening, you're excited about the new year. And you're still excited, and you're still working on your goals. You haven't given up yet. It's only the second week of January, but less than 2% achieve it. And we want to change that. I know you're in the business of changing that in the health and wellness world. And we're in the business of changing that in whatever goal it is that somebody wants to achieve, right? We want to improve those odds of success. Right. So instead of throwing out your New Year resolution, Laurie and I are going to help you figure out some ways that you can make some more sustainable goals that you can maintain throughout the year, so that you can get to the end of the year and at least be a little closer than you are now towards where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, before we dive in to how to create sustainable goals that you can stick with, you tell me, kind of add some meat and potatoes. Sure. No pun intended. She doesn't eat meat and potatoes. No, she does. I'm kidding. She does, I promise. I'm just totally kidding. Fill in the nuts and bolts there on all of these titles that you have and what you do.
Yeah, so the farm is one of my businesses. Obviously, you've been there. You've had some
love it.
Wonderful times there. I hold retreats there and raise sheep and horses and chickens, and it's just a wonderful place for healing and quiet. And I love sharing it with others, because it really helps you step away from the noise of the world. Our world is so noisy, and that actually contributes to a lot of our health issues.
Oh, yeah, true.
Very much so, on a cellular level even. So I love to be able to share that. And in fact, I have a retreat coming up in a couple weeks. So.
Unless you happen to catch her playing the drums. practicing the drums. I had
That's
to
true.
throw that on a total side note. It has nothing to do with anything. But one
Yeah.
day I was like knocking on your door
Oh, really?
and I could hear the drums. You were like pounding away. And I'm like, I know she's in there. Your dog was barking. You're drumming away. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was laughing so hard. You never heard me. You probably had headphones on or something.
Right. Oh gosh.
Okay, then it's not a nice sound retreat. It's drummy, but you know, that's hilarious. You
Something
do play
about
the
this.
drums.
I
That's a total
do.
side note
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. But it actually ties into
No, it totally does.
my mission of living your best life based on what your cells want.
Mhm.
And so the next company, another company that I have, is my private practice nutrition coaching, Genetically Nourished, where we look at we look at the blueprint of you, which is within your DNA.
Mhm.
And so I'm able to take the guesswork out of what plan is best for you. So
That requires a little blood work or
just a cheek
swab.
Yep,
Okay.
super simple. I send the kit to you and you send it back to the lab. A few weeks later, the results come in and then we go over them. And based on your goals and your why, which is really where I start with people, why did you come to me? Why do you want to look at this? And then we design an extremely personalized, tailor-made plan for you.
That's amazing. I love that. Because everybody's different. We all have a unique fingerprint, right? I mean, in general, we have good ideas of what it means to eat healthy, whole foods, fresh foods, farm foods.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
foods that don't
We all
have
know
all those
that.
chemicals and things like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we all have foods that we like. And so there are ways to be able to eat those foods that we like in healthier, more nutritious ways that might match our DNA a little better.
Right.
And I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
And plus you
Very
have
cool.
something new that you're going to talk to us
Yes.
about. We're going to save that
Yes.
towards the end. We're
Okay.
talking about creating an urgency statement because I think that will tie in
Yeah.
greatly. So don't go anywhere. You want to hear
Yes.
about your new exciting
Yeah.
opportunity to help people,
Yeah.
catch something that could cause them problems down the road if you're not
Right.
aware of it.
Right.
So yeah, just amazing. Laurie is
Thank you.
awesome. I've learned so much from her. I've had the opportunity to enjoy some of your healthy foods and enjoy time out at your farm, and it's just super great. So, all right, so let's dive in and let's talk about how to create sustainable goals that are easier to stick with, because I think if we don't go so fast and furious, if we focus more on the change, and that's the first way, focus more on the change and not the result. I find, I own curves, right, where women can come and exercise and get good nutrition and things like that. But what I find is that when they first come diving in, and you probably find this with your clients too, all they're focused on is how much weight they want to lose, what size jeans they want to wear, how much they weigh right now, how much are they going to weigh in 3 months. And that's where their focus is. And that is the wrong place to be, because if you focus on the result, you will never change. And so you won't get the result. But if you focus on the change, you will get the result. And I know you said that's exactly what I talk to my clients about.
Yeah. And I really tap in, like I mentioned, I tap into somebody's why. So for instance, some of my clients, they have families, they have young kids, and they know their health isn't terrible, but they've got some issues that could perhaps cut their life short if they're not addressed.
Yes.
So they want to spend the healthiest, longest life with their children. So they want to make the changes now in their 30s and 40s, or wherever they may be at. And that is their why. That's what, in the morning when they wake up, instead of reaching for the donut, they're going to reach for the best choice for them, because they want to live that life with their kids. They want to feel vital and
be mindful. A lot of us, we just eat out of habit, right? So the things that we eat are just habitual. It's just because that's what we're used to. And if we create different habits and eating different things, we'll start doing things differently. But I always use the example of it's like putting your hand in the cookie jar without even thinking. But if you make yourself stop and ask yourself, why am I putting my hand in the cookie jar? And if I do, how am I going to feel?
Right.
And is it going to get me the result that I want? Right. So, and we can apply, we're talking, obviously it's the new year. The number one goal that we all have is to be healthier, right? That's number one. Number two is to have more money. And if you're wondering, number three is relational. We want to have better relationships. So it's Health is always number one, finances is number two, and relationships is the top three things that we want to be better at. So, and you're a dietitian, so it makes sense that we're talking on the health. But I want to let you know that it doesn't matter what your goal is. You've got to focus on the change. What is something that you can change that's going to drive you a little closer to the goal that you want? Just pick a couple things and focus on that instead of focusing on that end result, right?
Yep.
And I know you've been doing that as a business owner, and we can just talk about Gnarly Oak Farm. You've had ideas, you've started to work towards them. Some of them worked out, some of them you had to change your plans.
Or cancel.
Yeah. If you're a business owner and you're listening or tuning in, you know what we're talking about. Sometimes it just doesn't go the way you hope, or things cost a lot more money than you think they were going to, and blah, blah, blah. But you make those changes. You keep focusing and you keep taking subtle, changes. And so that's how it works. And then obviously baby steps, which is kind of what we're tying into. You have your big vision of what you want to do out at the farm.
Right.
And you can't do it all at one time.
Nope.
So what are some baby steps that you can take?
Right.
And you can share your example, right, about how you really had a big vision and then you kind of took it down and maybe doing more retreats and things.
Yeah. So, the first retreat I held in September, I thought I put it there for 30 people, and I thought surely it would fill just like that. And nope, it sure didn't. And I had 8 people, and it was amazing and perfect and wonderful. And everyone had an incredible time. There were words like transformative and safe, and they felt nourished. And I like to live by, I heard it from Tony Robbins, but I'm sure many other people have said it, but life is always happening for us, not to us.
Right.
And if I'm going through something that's uncomfortable or scary or not how I thought I wanted it to be, I go back to that. Life is happening for me. Life is happening for me.
Right. Because your big vision initially was like Airbnb was where your mind went.
Yeah.
And then you realized with some things that wasn't going to necessarily, at least at this point in the game, go that direction. So you tailored it down to be more retreat kind of style. Maybe Tony Robbins is right. Life is happening for you, not to you. Correct. So maybe retreats is more the direction that you needed to go.
Yeah, exactly.
I always say it like this: if we're on the wrong path, if our heart's in the right place and we're trying to fulfill our purpose and we're believing that we're doing that, then if we make a wrong turn unconsciously because we really are trying, then God goes, oopsie. I got to help her out here or him here because this is the way they really believe I want them to go. And if I don't do something, they're going to keep going that direction. And then he kind of steps in and goes, nope, this way. Right. But our heart's in the right place.
Yes. And if we can be open and listen to that. So when you've started a new plan, when you've put these resolutions out there and they're not turning out the way they are, then step back and see, okay, so maybe I need to go this way instead of that way to reach my goals. And what do I need to support me to get me firmly on this path?
Yep. That's such a great example we just talked about with your farm right there. I'm sure if you're listening, you could probably think of a few examples in your life, but recall those times when you've had to take a different path. And so those baby steps, right? I said, how do you eat an elephant? One little bite at a time. You can't go, if you try to eat the whole elephant at one time, we all know that ain't going to work.
Right.
So, but if you just take one bite at a time, eventually you'll get there. Or 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. You're still a step ahead. You're still moving in the right direction. So I love that. Small, manageable steps. And I'm sure you help your clients and that's how you do it with them. Once you have their plan for them, once they take that genetic testing. Can you explain that a little bit? Sorry. I don't want to butcher that. I'm like that genetic testing, like I know what I'm talking about.
No, absolutely. Because it can be really confusing and all sciencey and do I have to know math and science and chemistry? No, not at all. So we look at your lifestyle genetics. As a dietitian, I don't diagnose cases, but I can see what's going on enough and then develop the right plan for you. A lot of times I'll work with people's doctors as well, which is great because then you've got the partnership of both a specialized nutritionist and then your doc. So we look at your lifestyle genetics. They look at nutrition and supplementation, sleep, your activity. And what it shows is how your genetics can express in these areas, meaning there's a gene called the sweet tooth gene. So a lot of people
I got that gene.
feel like they just want to keep eating sweets, right?
I feel that way.
Yeah, and that's very common,
Mhm.
and we can see that. And so I'll work with the client, see if that's expressing, and then work around ways to be able to turn that gene off. So our genes are not our destiny. We're born with this blueprint, and we have the power of epigenetics. So epi is above
Mhm.
our genome, our genes, to influence how our genes turn on and off. We kind of have a dimmer switch.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. It's kind of like you could be more susceptible to having type 2 diabetes, but you don't have to.
Correct.
Like you're not, you're not destined
Yeah.
to have type 2 diabetes simply because your parents do.
Exactly.
That is truly a lifestyle and diet disease. You may be more prone to it if you don't get a hold of it.
Right.
But you're not destined for it.
Right. So when I see that in your blueprint, then we're able to design a plan to either turn genes down, or there are other genes that we want to turn on. So for instance, in my activity level, so it's athletic propensity, I'm more of a power sprint person over an endurance. So if I can do workouts that really build muscle and power, then all my genes will work better and be optimized. It doesn't mean that I couldn't run longer distances.
Right.
It's just not the best way to support my genetics.
That is so cool. I love that. I love science, right?
Yeah.
I love psychology, but I love the chemistry of our body and how that works. I love science. So that is so cool to me. I'm sure everybody's like, oh my gosh, tell me more.
So I bring it down to bite-sized pieces, like you said.
Little
so I
baby
don't
steps.
give you this whole science lesson at one time. We work together over months.
Right.
And week by week, I'm there as an accountability person, and we've got your plan, and I have simple steps for you to do. And we move through it that way.
Awesome. And you're probably going, how do I get in touch with Laurie? Don't worry, keep listening, because at the end of the podcast, we'll let you know. But you have to listen to us continue to share. All right. So how do you create sustainable goals that you can maintain throughout the year and get to the end of the year and land at December 31st, feeling like you at least got further than you started, right? That you got a little closer to where you want to be. And the first thing we talked about is focusing on the change. The second thing is baby steps. And the last thing that I really love, and so it's not least for sure, last but not least, but this has made a lot of sense in my life in achieving big goals that I've achieved, especially overcoming bad habits and addictions and things like that. Is creating that urgency statement. And I felt this laid on my heart. It's like, we set these New Year goals, New Year resolutions, or we have our life goals, these big dreams that are laid in our hearts, and we want them so bad, right? Don't we? We think about it. It rides around on our shoulders all day, every day. We want them so badly. But I think one of the biggest reasons that we fail, that we give up, that we don't persevere through till the end and see it through to fruition is there's no sense of urgency. And we can use health as an example, right? Like I may be overweight and I know I need to lose weight and I'm unhappy with myself and I don't like how I look in the mirror and I want to be healthier. Or maybe I don't mind. I love how I look in the mirror and I'm happy and confident. And so that doesn't bother me. So I really have no sense of urgency. And I'm not thinking about my future self and what the complications could be, right? And so in the weekly winning article that we send out to our members every week, I said, create an urgency statement. So essentially what I'm asking you to do is write your future self a letter. Write your future self a letter. Think about December 31st, 2023, 12 months from now, essentially. What do you want to say to yourself? For me, I talked about when I quit smoking at 27 because my 52-year-old stepmother passed away. And I had to create an urgency I had to, create an urgency statement for my future self because at the time I wasn't experiencing any consequences.
Sure.
But she passed away from lung cancer. And now guess what? Here I am at 50. I wish I had written myself. I wish I could read a letter today. And a lot of you know, and Laurie, you just learned that last summer I lost my sister at 55 years old from smoking. And she had lung cancer. And guess what? Do you think I'd probably be on that same path? So you have to put yourself, you got to think futuristic when it comes to your urgency sometimes. Now, sometimes you might be listening, you might have a sense of urgency. If you need to get out of debt, you may be drowning. If you need to lose weight, you may have just got diagnosed with something like type 2 diabetes, right? You might be desperate. You may have that sense of urgency. But I think for a lot of us, we're comfortable.
Yeah.
We're fine and we don't have a sense of urgency. And if it doesn't change right now, I don't feel any pain right now.
Yeah.
But it will be painful down the road. Anyway, so I'm going to let you talk about that from your point of view. Yeah. And then I think this is a great opportunity for you to share about your new product that you're super excited about.
Yeah. Well, this sense that we're so comfortable. We have extremely comfortable lives. I highly recommend. I recently read a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, and it's certainly gotten me to be motivated to push myself to really follow the dreams, the scariest dreams. This horse race that I'm doing in Patagonia.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
that I never thought would happen, and now
that is crazy dream. That's so exciting though.
So and why do we want to do that? Because we were put here on earth to do something and to live our best life, and we've got this much time here.
I know. This much. It's true.
This much. So why not in an irresponsible manner,
right?
But live to the best of your ability.
Yes.
Love to the best of your ability. Really, with your whole heart. And speaking of your heart, what I've recently came across at a meeting is a really exciting new cardiac measurement tool. It's not a diagnostic tool, but I've been concerned about my health care, not because I have any issues. I feel fine.
Right.
I feel great.
You're healthy. You take good care. I mean, for good reason. You take good care of yourself.
And I know my genetics.
Yes.
And my genetics put me at a very high risk for cardiac disease.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Both of my parents had strokes.
Oh, wow.
So it is real for me. So, second half of my 50s, I should probably get this checked out. and so I did. And I learned that I'm at risk for, maybe 5 or 6 years out of having a cardiac event.
Wow.
And now I know what to do about it.
Okay.
Simple things that I can do. Don't need to see a doctor for this. And I'm like, I need to share this.
Yes.
How can I offer this test to people? So I worked with the company, they're called Heart Care Core, and I was able to purchase the test. I'll be registered and certified next month to be able to offer it to people here. It's super easy test, non-invasive, less than 10 minutes. You lay on a massage table, and then I'm able to, it reads out the health of your cardiovascular system, sort of looking at all the invasive tests that you might have at the hospital. Those are still important exams.
Sure. We're not replacing anything. Yes. But it's just a different way, a route that you can take a look.
It's inexpensive and you're able to get this done. And if I can help you, if it looks like, we want to send you to the doc, then, we'll get that set up. But it's really exciting to be able to offer this. Heart disease is the number one killer in this country, and it's silent more than 50% of the time.
Yes. Well, my husband, he's experienced something very similar. He had a Doppler done on his artery, and they found, that he had a high level of plaque. And so he had to change some things, do some things, and has improved his health tremendously. And he was at a higher risk. So, those are things that, again, if you feel good or you feel comfortable, there's no sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And so without an urgency statement, without a futuristic view, what's coming down the road, thinking about what the consequences are. And, the best thing that I can share with you to ask yourself is, what difference will it make? Right? whether if you achieve your goal or don't achieve your goal, if you accomplish your New Year resolution or don't accomplish your New Year resolution, what difference is it going to make? It may not, in the grand scheme of things, at this moment, you may go, doesn't really make a big difference right now, but what difference is it going to make on December 31st, 2023? How are you going to feel if you get to the end of the year and you didn't accomplish it? Or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I'll share this one quick story because I think this is so important too, especially when it comes to achieving big goals and dreams, right? As we get older, we start to think, oh, I don't need to worry about that. I'm older now. I've missed my opportunity or whatever. And I always tell people it's never too late. Never ever too late. And it's never ever too late to start taking care of your health. And even if I just signed a new member up at Curves, and it's so exciting because she's a 72-year-old lady, and she's super sweet, and she's healthy as can be. Okay, tall, thin, not overweight, no medicines, nothing that she knows of. Right. And she goes to her doctor for regular checkups, and nothing showed up, and she's seemingly healthy. Yeah. It took me 3 days. She came in 3 times to convince her to join because guess what? She's healthy. She doesn't really have a sense of urgency. And you know what made her finally stick the stake in the ground and decide to join? I said to her, you are so healthy. You are 72 years old. I said, do you know that unless God has a different plan and you walk out the door and get run over by a truck, that could happen. But you're probably going to live well into your 90s or even 100. Right. And she goes, oh, I probably will because my parents did. Okay. In fact, I think one of her parents is still alive. Wow. Yeah. And she goes, oh, I'm sure I will. Yeah. And I said, do you want to be on a walker? Do you want to not be strong when you're in your 90s? That's what's going to happen if you don't start strength training now. Yeah. And she goes, I'm going to join. That alone encouraged her to join. Yeah. So anyway, that's just an example of what we were talking about, right? Yeah. Sometimes you don't have a sense of urgency. You got to think about what difference is it going to make down the road. Right. Awesome. Right. Okay. You guys, if you're interested in all of this amazing stuff that Laurie can help you with in living a healthy lifestyle, creating a nutrition plan that is perfect for you. And we mean perfect because you're checking out their genetics. Checking out your genetics. That's a cool word in itself. Tell us how they can get in touch with you.
So geneticallynourished@gmail.com is my email for that. Geneticallynourished.com is the website where you can also put in your information. And
if you, she's not too hard to find. You can find her on Facebook. Facebook. You can message me, right? And I'll get you in touch with her. Easily accessible. So if it's something that you want to, if you're coming to our conference on February 3rd, which you still have time, as long as you get registered this week at I'veDecided.org, we'd love to see you at our conference. It's in Peoria, Illinois at Holiday Inn out at Grand Prairie. You can meet Laurie in person. And so I want to invite you to join us for our conference. We are taking off to a life fulfilled. So we will be taking a trip on Friday, February 3rd, and you are invited to join us, and I hope that you will. And we'd love to have you join our community anytime. Go visit our website, I'veDecided.org. You're going to be a part of a community with people like Laurie, like-minded people who are just working towards excellence, being the best we can be, and working towards achieving our big goals and dreams. And we want to help you too. So we'd love to have you. Laurie, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Kim.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in. And I hope that after listening, you understand now how you can create sustainable goals so that you don't have to throw your New Year resolutions out the window. All right, so have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.